everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Catherine and I live in Hertfordshire in the United Kingdom. Today is the 15th of December and this is my 8th episode. It's lovely to be back. It's been a while. I think realistically my podcasts are going to be about once a month. I was trying to podcast every couple of weeks, but it's just not happening. So anyway, it's lovely to be back to get an episode in before Christmas. I hope you're all well and you've been busy knitting, getting on with your gift knitting. So I've got a few things to share with you today. We'll start with what I'm wearing. This is the Fairly shawl, which if you've been with me since the beginning, you'll have seen in my first episode. I'll link all the details to this shawl in the description box below. It's a really lovely shawl knitted in Jameson's Spindrift, which is a 2-ply yarn. It's really gorgeous. I absolutely love this. So it's one of my favourites. It's lovely now that we can get our shawls out and our winter knits on. So I'm going to start today talking about my works in progress. Now, the first project I'm sharing with you is called the Inclination Shawl by Andrea Mowry. Now, I've mentioned her before on the podcast and I'd never ever made any of her projects, but I love watching her podcast. I'll knit if I want to. And she recently brought out a new shawl and I just thought it's really lovely. Her shawl is knitted in, I think it's a fade, so she uses 6 different skeins of yarn. But I just wanted to choose a yarn that would do the work for me. So I chose this yarn, which is Sirdar Jewel Spun, which is an Aran weight yarn. And I think it's supposed to mimic a hand spun yarn with all the colours and the changes. I'll look up the colourway for you. I think it might be called Midnight Fjord. I think that might have been the one I chose. So the Inclination Shawl is this beautiful shawl which is knitted in a half fisherman's rib. Actually, that's the back of the shawl, so we'll turn it around and show you the front. And it's such a simple pattern, but I wanted to choose sort of a self-striping yarn so I could just concentrate on working a simple pattern and not have to worry about any changes. And it's bound off with an I-cord edging, not bound off, that's the wrong word. It's got an I-cord edging, which is really satisfying and super simple to do. You've got I-cord on both sides and it's going to be an asymmetrical shawl. Now I've used about half a ball and I have actually 2 whole balls to make this yarn. So let's just check the colourway for you. It's shade 847 and it doesn't have the name. It is 100% acrylic and I'll be truthful, it's beautiful, but it does feel a little bit squeaky. You get that squeaky acrylic feel when it's knitting up. But I am very happy with it. I think it's going to be super squishy and super warm and lovely. It was in my budget, so I think one of these large balls is £10, but it's long meterage. So let me just double check the meterage for you. You get 200 grams, which is 500 meters. So I suppose it only works out £2.50 a 50-gram ball, which is actually very reasonable. So I've got a bit of progress to make still. I don't know if you can see, it is quite fuzzy. And the one thing I did notice when I first started knitting, I think with all this hand washing that we're doing, my hands must have been really dry and I sort of have caught the wool. It's sort of much more fuzzy at the bottom than it is at the top. So I don't know if anybody's got any good tips for keeping your hands moisturised, because it's difficult because you don't want to moisturise them just before you knit, because then you're going to have greasy fingers. But then I found with very dry skin, particularly with this, I was catching the yarn. I think a little shave though, I can trim these little bobbly bits off, which is a little bit annoying, but it's gonna be so beautiful. So that is the Inclination Shawl by Andrea Mowry and I'm really happy with the progress so far. Okay, my next project is a DK weight sock. Summerlee who I have made her Magic Loop socks before, which sort of taught me how to use Magic Loop, had a sale on, and I purchased a sock set called the Hello Sailor sock set, and it's a collection of 4 socks that I think they're sort of Gansey inspired, and this one that I'm making is called the Broken Rope DK weight sock. There's also a 4-ply sock very similar in the same collection. Now I just wanted to make up a cozy sort of indoor house sock, and I have used some Drops Charisma that was in my stash. So it is 100% wool, so I don't know how it will wear for socks, but I'm not intending to wear them outside in boots or shoes, so they're house socks. So I think knitting with 100% wool is absolutely fine, and I just wanted something a little bit snug and cozy. And as you can see, it's got this lovely broken rib stitch. There's no other ribbing, and you've got your normal heel flap and turn, and you've got your normal toe. Looks a bit pointy actually. I don't know if it's more pointy than normal. My foot isn't that shape, but I'm sure it fits beautifully. I was a little bit worried because I'm using DK weight about running out, and that is all I have left of the first sock. So I would have liked to knit the sock possibly a little bit longer, but I didn't want to run out, so I'm actually quite happy. So that's the first sock, and it's a lovely Christmassy colour. These are for me, they're just going to be warm house socks to wear inside, and I'm really happy with those. So it's a half finished object, 1 sock. This is the Broken Rope DK weight sock from the Hello Sailor sock collection by Summer Lee, who is a fantastic sock designer. You should check her patterns out. And I am using, these are interchangeable zings. I believe the interchangeables, you can't get small sizes. So I think the smallest size I've got is a 3. I don't know if they go any small interchangeables. I've never seen any smaller ones. And this is a 3.25, and they are Knit Pro Zings, and you've got a coloured cord. I think the cords are colour coordinated, and the cords seem to have improved. When I first got my original set of Knit Pros, which are the Symphonies, they've got these red cords. Now I don't know if they've got really hard with use, but I did try Magic Loop with one of those cords and they were absolutely dreadful. So it is interesting, the difference in cords. They're not the best cords I think for Magic Loop, but yeah, they're okay. I don't want to invest in necessarily new needles, so I'm happy with these. I find things are really good for plain knitting. They're no good for lace knitting because the points aren't sharp enough, so that's one problem you might encompass with zings. Brilliant for fast sock knitting though. So those are the Broken Rib socks. Really happy with those. Let's pop that away. Okay, my next project is some more socks. I'm working on some 4-ply socks. Now I shared this yarn with you in my last video. This is West Yorkshire Spinners, and it is Signature 4-ply, one of my favourites. It is machine washable, but I do find it doesn't wash that well in the machine. I'm quite worried about felting it. I've got one pair I made in one of their bird colorways, and they haven't washed up well, so I would recommend hand washing this yarn. I don't know why it says machine washable, because it doesn't wash that well in the machine. So this pattern is the Oakworth socks by Kay Jones. Now this is another of her Knitty You sock patterns that you get if you're a patron. It is designed for DPNs. It's a DPN course, but I'm quite confident with DPNs, so I didn't really want to sit the course. I did watch some of the videos, and she does have lots of helpful tips as well, but I decided to knit these Magic Loop because that's flying off my needles. And it's a lovely pattern because it's very straightforward, but you've just got these 2 little garter stitch panels at the sides, at the front, and it is her Dutch heel. She calls it a square heel. I believe it's a Dutch heel, and it is a slip stitch heel flap as well. And these are going to be really cute, and I like them because they're quite shorty socks. I'm quite into my short socks at the moment, and the colour changes in this yarn are absolutely beautiful, so it's really lovely. So hopefully next episode I will have a finished pair, or at least one finished sock. I am doing a bit of Christmas knitting as well at the moment, so that's making things a little bit harder to crack on with those. So those are the Oakworth socks, and I believe they're named after the Oakworth station in The Railway Children. If you've ever watched the movie or read the book, the station is called Oakworth, so I think the tracks, this represents the train tracks. So it's a nice little story behind the socks as well, which I like. So the last work in progress I have to share with you today is a hat, and this is a gift knit. I am making a pattern called the Violet Waffle Hat by Halladora J, and you can find this pattern on Ravelry. It is a free pattern and I've made it 3 times before. I gifted this hat to my brother-in-law for Christmas 2 years ago and he absolutely loved it. I made him another one last year, and so of course he's getting a third one here, and it is a fantastic hat pattern. So here's the progress I've made so far. I actually double the brim for him, so I think as it's a free pattern, I can tell you you're supposed to knit about 5.5 centimeters, but I doubled it and I knit 11 centimeters, which makes a nice brim for his hat. And then you've got this waffle pattern, which is a simple pattern made with knit stitches and then some knits and pearls. So it's like a broken rib, I suppose. And I think you should get this hat pattern. It's really, really lovely. And just to show you what it knits up like, here is one I made a couple of years ago for myself. So this one is knitted in the same yarn. This is acrylic yarn. This is Women's Institute Navy, which is 100% acrylic. It's the premium acrylic. I'm going to put it on. I have hat hair probably, but it's a lovely slouchy fit. So that's what the finished hat should look like. Obviously his I'm making with a double rim, and then I have a second one that I made as well. This one is for me as well that I kept. This one is made in wool. This is the Willow and Lark Ramble DK. It's 100% wool, and this one is in the limestone colorway, which is really nice. And I made this one a bit more slouchy. I did more repeats, so I'm just going to pop this on as well. So that's this hat as well. So you can see it's a great hat. I've been knitting this, I think, for the last 2 or 3 nights. I'm using DPNs simply because I didn't have magic loop needles spare. I think all my needles are on projects, and I just thought I'm going to do a DPN hat. I think I'd need to get, actually, to do it on 3P DPNs, which is my preferred method, I'd need 20 centimetre DPNs. These are 15 centimetre DPNs, and it's a bit tight, the stitches. I'm being careful not to lose my stitches, and I really like these needles. These are Knit Pro again, but these are called Royale. I got a gift set one Christmas, and so they're wood, I think it's birch wood, with 2 tips, they all have 2 tips, with metal tips, which is quite nice. Again, they're not that sharp, so I think again it's just for knit pearl knitting. I think really for lace knitting you need something with a sharper edge, but they feel really nice in the hand because they're wood. The finest ones in the sock set, it comes from 2mm up to 4mm, and the ones I've used the most are 2.5mm, and the tip has snapped on 2 of them. I contacted Knit Pro and they said that they would replace them, but I should contact the retailer who I bought them from, and I explained that they were a gift and I didn't know who they came from. So they have said that they will send me replacements, but it's been about 3 weeks and I'm still waiting. So I might have to chase it up. I don't quite know why the tip snapped off the very fine needles, because these seem quite sturdy. So that's just something to be aware of on the finest needles. But I suppose with wood needles they can break, can't they? So yeah, this is the Violet Waffles hat, and I love this pattern. So yeah, I would recommend this for a quick gift knit. It's a free pattern. I think the crown shaping I had to slightly change, if I remember rightly. but I think I just did one extra row of pattern. I thought it looked a bit odd, but when I get to it, when I finish it, I'll tell you in my next episode what I did on the crown shaping. But yeah, you can work this. It's a free pattern. It's really, really lovely, and it's a great fit. And obviously Thomas likes it because he's asked for, well, last year he asked for another one, and of course I'm making him another one this year. I think his original one might be the same grey. I'm not 100% sure. So he's going to get the same hat he had before. They don't last forever. That is all my works in progress for you this week. But hopefully I don't have really terrible hat hair. I've just taken that hot hat off. I also fell down sort of on my seat when I sat down again, so I hope I haven't changed the position of the camera too much. As I said, I'm filming on my front camera. No, I'm filming on my back camera now, so I can't really see myself, which I think is better because then I can remember to look at the camera, but you can't check things. I did use a free app last time, but I couldn't be bothered today, so we're just going with it. If I need to add any inserts, I will do that for you. So let's go through my finished objects, and I have a few things to share with you. First up, we've got a finished cowl, and I love this, and this is my own design. This is the little block cowl, and I'm super pleased with how it's worked up. It's knitted in a beautiful mustard shade, and it's very simple, but it is my own design that I came up with. So we've got double rib at the top and the bottom, and we've got the block pattern, and the yarn I chose is 100% wool. It's called Homegrown DK Weight, exclusive to Hobbycraft. I think it's very similar to something like West Yorkshire Spinners, Colour Lab. You could make this cowl in any DK weight scarf though. It doesn't have to be wool, you could do it in acrylic, but I like this because of the lovely stitch definition. I'm going to put it on for you. And we can see, so let's have a look. It's just the right size, I think. It's scrunchy, it's cozy, it will keep your neck warm. The yarn is a tiny bit on the scratchy side, but that doesn't bother me. If you're affected by wool, then you could knit it in any yarn you choose. I think it will knit to standard DK weight. And you'll be pleased to know that I'm going to release this pattern because I'm really pleased with it. It's a simple pattern, so I need a couple of testers. I had people that tested my sock pattern for me. So what I think I'm going to do is leave a link to a Google form, and you can fill in your name and your details and send it to me. I'll leave that in the description box below. Or you can simply just email me at my email address, which is knittedbykatherine@gmail.com. If you would like to test my cowl pattern, you will get a copy of the finished pattern for free, and I am only looking for a couple of people, so that would be perfect. Any viewers would like to test the pattern for me, and I think that I'll probably release it early next year, so I'm going to give you plenty of time to make it. It's a quick knit though, knits up in DK weight. And what is also coming, which is not finished yet though, it's on the needles, is going to be the hat pattern, which I have started. So we've just got the rib at the moment of the hat, and I'm knitting this one on a 40 centimetre needle. 60 centimetres is too big for a hat. This was knitted on a 60 centimetre. So you've got your hat that's going to match it as well, that I'm working on too, but I haven't had time to do any more on the hat. So the little block cowl, if you would like to test, just let me know, and that would be super. So, and I think once I've made the hat and the cowl, we've got the 4-ply socks. I'm probably done with this pattern for now. I've got some ideas for some other socks that I might be making shortly, another sock pattern, so that would be lovely. So let's see what else we've got to share with you. Next up, I've got some finished socks. So I've showed you this in previous episodes, and these are the All Is Calm socks by Kay Jones. It's a free pattern to all Bakery Bear patrons. I know I recommend a Bakery Bears every time, but I think Kay's patterns for her socks are superb. So I wanted a simple pattern that would disguise the pooling on this yarn, and I think it's done a fairly good job, but to be truthful, I don't really like the colouring. So can you see how it pulls in sort of stripes? But yeah, it's okay. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners, the 4-ply, and it's a colourway called Foxgloves. The English Garden colourways, they have this sort of funky patterning, which is why I chose this all over lace sock, which is absolutely beautiful. You've got a heel flap and turn, it's just your normal one. Is it called a French heel? I think so. And you've got a standard toe. See, this toe is not pointy like that one I showed you, the broken rope one. That seemed to be really pointy, so I prefer the shaping on this toe. Maybe because it's a DK weight toe, it's gone really pointy, I don't know, but it fits my foot really nicely. Let's have a look. Actually, I'm lying to you when I said it was a French heel. This is the square heel turn as well, the Dutch heel. Okay, and they are super cute. I need to get some pretty sock blockers. I think everybody has all these pretty sock blockers, and I have these blue plastic ones. They are convenient, and I suppose they do the job, but they're not particularly attractive for demonstrating socks. So All Is Calm socks by Kay Jones, Bakery Bears pattern. I think you should check out the Bakery Bears, Kay's lovely sock patterns. And she has published, she just said, I'm on the forum on Facebook, and she had a little sock sale, and she said she's published 33 sock patterns now, so she's got lots of socks to choose from. So I'm really pleased with them. These are going to be for me, I think, or maybe they might be a Christmas gift. I still haven't decided. Maybe I might give them to somebody for Christmas. Then I won't have to finish a pair of socks for Christmas because they're already finished. So we'll see. My last project that I've finished is a totally new project that you haven't seen in any of my previous episodes. Now, my friend has just given birth to twins about a few weeks ago, and I used to work with her, and I wanted to make her a little gift. So both myself and my mum have made the same blanket. My mum has made a blanket in white, and I have made a blanket in oatmeal. And because the babies had already arrived, I thought I better make a crochet blanket because it is a lot quicker. So this is a pattern by Sirdar. They do really great baby blankets and basics for babies. You can't really beat their patterns. And it was a digital download. I don't know the number, so I will look it up for you, and I just think it's great. It's just a simple cellular blanket, really, a bit like the cellular blankets that you can buy, the cotton blankets. I remember my daughter having the cellular blankets, but this is made with treble crochets and double crochets, and it is so simple. Really happy with it. As you can see, I've still got a couple of ends to weave in, so I'm going to weave those ends in. I'm going to give it a wash, and I'm going to send it off to her. So yeah, it's a really lovely blanket. I used a 3.5mm hook because I'm a loose crocheter, because crochet is not really my area of expertise. My mum used a standard hook, the 4mm, and hers is lovely and tight. I could probably even go down to a 4. And the one thing I don't like, that I didn't do very well, is my cast on chain is too loose. It's a bit wibbly wobbly, but hopefully with a wash and a block that won't show. But I think it's a lovely blanket for a baby. I would have been delighted to receive this, so I hope she likes it. I chose a neutral colour. The colour is oatmeal because I think some of the baby colours, the pinks and blues, can be a bit sickly and it might not be your individual taste, whereas a neutral colour you can't go wrong with. So a lovely crochet baby blanket. So you don't see that much crochet from me. So that is all finished. So what have I been watching? I have not been watching many new podcasts. There's been a lot of Vlogmas episodes, and I just haven't got time to watch those, so not watched many podcasts recently. I have been watching a few episodes of Emily Kate Made This. She is a really lovely podcaster based in Germany, so I'm just catching up on some of her episodes. You should check her out, definitely. I've been also watching Well Loved Knits, Bethany. She's got a big following on YouTube now. She does lots of chunky knits. I just watched one recently when she was telling us all about her experience living in Belgium as an expat and about her wedding, and I just thought it was really nice to hear from somebody living in a different country in that way. So lots of videos, so I'm catching up on some of her videos. She's new to me, and I've also been watching some tutorial video style videos from Nimble Needles, which is a chap called Norman, and he's got lots of great tips to help you improve your knitting as well, which is always really useful. So hopefully in January I might find some new podcasts. Maybe people will start again. If you've got recommendations, leave them below. I love to hear from you. And acquisitions, I really have not bought anything apart from the yarn I showed you, the Snuggly Wool for the crochet blanket and the Inclination shawl, the Aran Weight jewel spun. I think I'm going to touch on next year New Year's resolutions. What I really want to start doing, as well as using up stash, is just buy for a project rather than buying it and thinking what am I going to do with it. I think about what I want to make and then get the specific yarn. I think that's a much better way to go, especially since I've got sort of a cupboard with yarn in that's not getting used. So I am going to try and use some of those things up. That was the thing with the broken rope DK socks. I've got probably about 8 balls of that Charisma. I think I originally bought it with the plan of making some Christmas toys, and I made a little white polar bear. He's downstairs actually. I should show you him another time, my little polar bear. But there's red, there's grey, there's white, there's green, and there's brown. And I'm not really feeling the inspiration to make any Christmas toys. So I thought, yeah, house socks. So that's probably what that's going to knit up as. So it's using up some scraps and pieces. So if you've got any plans for next year, I'd like to know about it. I probably won't get to podcast again until the new year. Realistically, I was planning on podcasting every 2 weeks when I started this podcast, and it's never happened. I just find it really hard to find the time to fit it in with work commitments, childcare, not childcare, she's 18, she's not a child, family commitments, and also looking after all my pets and just staying on top of housework and tidying up. So I think once a month at the moment is what you're going to expect a video from me. So lastly, future plans. I have got a couple of plans that I want to make. So I bought a pattern called the Prairie Socks by Kay Jones. It's one of her most popular sock patterns. She had a sock sale the other day, which is very kind of her. And so I got the sock pattern half price. So Prairie Socks are going to come along next year, hopefully, once I've finished some of the other bits and pieces I'm working on. I also have bought the DRK Everyday Sweater pattern by Andrea Mowry. Now I'm going to take this cowl off and get a little hot inside. So let's just take that off. So let's have a look. I wanted to make a sweater with some stash yarn that I have. Now this is Sirdar Balmoral, which is a wool alpaca silk DK weight. It's a 50-gram ball. It is 72% wool, 25% alpaca and 3% silk. And this is discontinued because I bought this for Rebecca to make a blue cardigan. This is just sitting and it's really nice yarn. It is a hand wash yarn, so I didn't really know what to make with it. So I saw Andrea's sweater and I thought I'll make that. Now I have heard people say that it's hard to get her gauge, so I've used the recommended needle size, and I don't normally swatch, but I'm a reformed character. I've done a little swatch and I've blocked it, And I think I've got gauge. I just need to double check again, because obviously once you've blocked it and you've washed it and you've pinned it out, I think it's a good idea just to let it relax again. And I knitted this in the round. You can cut these, but I didn't want to cut them because in case I need to use this last bit of yarn, I don't want to run out. So it's a good little trick. You knit your swatch in the round, and when you get to the end, you just, as if you're doing a huge I-cord, I suppose, you just sort of, you leave a long end, and it does make sort of, because I think if you knit your swatch flat, you're not going to have the same gauge. And I think it's knitted up nicely as well. So that's the swatch. I'm going to measure it again maybe tomorrow, and then I might cast on a jumper. I was thinking about doing the Stephen West knit-along that starts, I think, on December the 26th. I was looking at that cable shawl. I don't know the name, but I've got too many. Hello, baby. Do you hear my baby girl? I've got too many other commitments, so I think I might leave that one and not start that. So I'm going to start myself a sweater, the DRK Everyday Sweater. It's got a tubular cast on, which I've never done before, and I've watched her tutorial and I'm still confused, so I don't know whether it makes a difference. I might just do a normal cast on. I don't think it would bother me on the neckline to do a long tail cast on. I'm thinking about it. It does look really good, the tubular cast on. I watched a very pink video as well, and that seemed to be done in a totally different way. That seemed more easy to understand. So anybody got any good tips on tubular cast on, or whether you have to do a tubular cast on for a top down sweater? It's a double rib, so I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm going to start this sweater probably after Christmas. It might be my Christmas Day cast on, maybe, we'll see, because I don't have any sweaters on the needles at all. I haven't made a sweater in ages, actually, since the summer, so that will be nice. So that's my yarn for my sweater, and I do love blue, so it's a really lovely colour. And actually it's been quite nice because I've been knitting a few things with different colours, which has been quite nice. So I think that is everything for today. All that remains to say is thank you for stopping by. I'm sorry it's been a while. As I say, it's hard to podcast more than once a month, so just so you know, it'll be in about a month's time probably. If I get one made before then that's fantastic. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I will leave links to everything I've talked about in the description box below. If you've got any questions, you can always leave me a note. You can send me an email. If you're interested in test knitting my cowl pattern, just let me know and we'll get that all sorted out with you. Remember, you can like this video and you can also subscribe if you want to be notified when I next record. It does help my channel grow. I'll be really grateful for any likes and subscribers I get, and if you're already subscribing to me, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you leave me a little comment in the notes below, then I will definitely reply. I try to reply to everybody, and I love hearing from you. Let me know where you're from. It's lovely to have viewers around the world, and I'm just going to say have a lovely Christmas and a happy new year, and I will see you in 2022. Take care. Bye.